In May of 1940, the political and military situation in Europe was catastrophic. Adolf Hitler had gained absolute power in Germany. The French army was humiliated in only 40 days. Nearly 500,000 British and French troops were trapped in a tiny coastal enclave called Dunkirk, where they faced certain annihilation. Hitler's armored division was only 15 miles away, while the Luftwaffe bombed and strafed the hapless armies below. The Führer was never closer to his ultimate victory than during 5 days in May of 1940. The loss of the British and French armies at Dunkirk would have left them powerless in response to the anticipated Nazi invasion. If the British had surrendered without a fight, which was plausible in those bewildering days, the Nazi reign of terror could conceivably have continued for decades. 1,000 years of British history would have come to an inglorious end. Many influential individuals offered only doomsday advice about the European situation in the latter part of May 1940. King Leopold III of Belgium said, "The cause of the Allies is lost." David Lloyd George, former Prime Minister, admired Hitler and was convinced that Britain had no chance of winning the war. He called Hitler the greatest living German. What were British commoners saying in May of 1940? Most had no clear notion of the peril they faced. Some of the younger British housewives had become so battle-weary that they more or less welcomed Hitler. Many women even admired him. They thought it couldn't get worse, and at least they'd have their husbands back. That was the predicament in which Britain and France found themselves on May 24, 1940. 500,000 of their soldiers were huddled hopelessly at Dunkirk, waiting. It was during this frantic moment that the churches in Britain called for a national day of prayer. On May 23rd, numerous political leaders, newspaper editors, and King George VI issued a call for a national day of prayer to be held on Sunday, May 26th. At 7 o'clock that evening, a critical order was issued by the British High Command to attempt a desperate evacuation of Dunkirk. Every tiny vessel and private craft was sent across the treacherous English Channel with orders to rescue as many men as possible before the Germans destroyed their army. Against seemingly insurmountable odds, attempting one of the most desperate rescues of all time, daring souls set sail across the perilous divide. No one could have anticipated what was to happen during the next 3 days. Just 24 hours after the call for a day of prayer, Adolf Hitler inexplicably ordered his armies to halt, to the surprise and dismay of even his own generals. Hitler's armies remained largely in place not only on the 24th, 25th, and 26th, but incredibly until early June. To this day, no one knows exactly why. The Führer held victory in the palm of his hand, and yet he prevented his combat troops from finishing the job. Some have speculated that Hitler didn't want to risk unnecessary losses in a final battle. As for Hitler's own view, he said he wanted to give Churchill a sporting chance. There is, however, a more plausible explanation. Hitler's armies were halted by the same God who shut the mouths of the lions during Daniel's night of peril, the same God who heard and answered the distressed prayers of ill-fated Israelites so long ago. God was listening when hundreds of thousands of believers in Britain cried out for divine intervention. For 9 critical days, the Germans were content to shell and bomb Dunkirk from the air and from a distance. Meanwhile, large numbers of Allied soldiers frantically scrambled aboard the ragtag armada of boats. In all, 336,000 men found their way to safety in the British Isles. British General Ironside wrote, "I still cannot understand how it is that the Germans have allowed us to get our troops off in this way." The Undersecretary at the Foreign Office called the evacuation a miracle. Churchill summed up the breathtaking developments with these now historic words: "If Germany had defeated either Britain or France or both, she would give no mercy. We should be reduced to the status of vassals forever. If we fail, then the whole world, including the United States, including all that we have known and cared for, will sink into the abyss of a new dark age." A seemingly inevitable nightmare had been averted The God of heaven had once again touched earth. He had used the most powerful number possible to bring about victory. The number desperate souls from every strata of life have tried to reach, whatever the cost. God used the power of one. As one man, Britain knelt to pray and then set sail to rescue. As one people, they were willing to give their lives if necessary in order to recover their fathers, sons, and brothers. What gives the number one such power? Why have so many clamored to achieve it? From tyrants to teachers, cowards to conquerors, humanists to humanitarians, multitudes have fought to enlist the power of one. Many died trying. Throughout the ages, people have done whatever necessary to arrive at one mind, one people, one nation, even one world. At a time when the planet is reaching its peak passion for oneness, we find ourselves most divided. From political parties to individual nations, peoples to politicians, the number one at times appears to be unreachable. It's too big, too grand, too idealistic. Yet history gives us hope. The Dunkirks, D-Days, 9/11s, and disasters of every kind have at times brought a unified people to their knees and God to his feet. Yet there is always more than one option on the horizon, offering one-way tickets to the oasis of one. The first option comes from the original lawless one. Though created to live in complete harmony with his creator, Lucifer wanted to be the one, and so rebelled against God. That defiant, defining moment set the stage for the ongoing battle between the true one and the false one. In the book of Genesis, Moses tells how God once stopped a city of people from becoming one. Now the whole earth had one language and one speech, and they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth." But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And the Lord said, "Indeed, the people are one, and they all have one language, and this is what they begin to do. Now nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. Come, let us go down there and confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. Therefore its name is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth. For better or worse, molding a people together for one purpose is not impossible. Hitler did it in Germany. Mao Zedong did it in China. Jim Jones did it at Jonestown. Even musicians did it at Woodstock. For a season, dictators, terrorists, narcissists, and hedonists have done it throughout history. Rather than believe in the one true God, people have rebelled against him and perpetuated the planet's division, bowing before counterfeit gods. From the oneness needed for a whole mind to the oneness required for a healthy family, the battle rages. How can true oneness be achieved? There's only one way. We must align ourselves with the God who is truth, the only one who came to earth and lived a sinless life, the only one who died for our sins and rose from the dead, the only one who offers and can deliver everlasting life. Not some pie-in-the-sky wishful thinking, but beginning here on earth and lasting forever, an unimaginable oneness of spirit, soul, and body with the God of the universe. As Jesus willingly died to forgive us, he now desires to liberate our hearts. Only then will we know the oneness God intended.